Good day, a grand rising to you, beautiful people. Welcome to Sonia Poulton and guests. Actually, wake up with Sonia Poulton and guests. It's Monday, the 14th of July, 2025. I hope you are fabulously well. I don't know what the weather is like where you are, but it was roasting yesterday and today it's a lot cooler, which I'm very grateful for. How are you all, you beautiful, beautiful people? Chris, I can see you've got the rain in Scotland. Good to hear it. We love a bit of rain, don't we? We love a bit of rain, but I love a bit of sunshine too. I hope you are absolutely booming and beaming. Hello and welcome to the show that knows by this point, if you're still making excuses for them, you are an enabler. Apply that where appropriate, please. What is on today's Wake Up? Well, we have Ray Gilbert, who will be talking about his time inside in what he says he was framed for the murder of somebody and he didn't commit it. He didn't commit it, and Ray will be here to talk about it shortly. We'll also be joined by Professor David Miller. He'll be talking about Zionism in the UK. And we'll also be joined by Katie Jo and possibly Sadie too from Hope, Sussex. They'll be talking about the festival in August. There's also more Palestine action arrests at the weekend. Trump assassination attempt. That's a year ago, and you have your say. I asked you what you thought about it, and boy, did you tell me. We'll also be looking at the modified Epstein video. There's a shocker, right? And today, the Health Secretary Wes Streeting will be answering questions about the NHS 10-year plan. I can answer it much more simply than he can. Trust me on this, and we will be doing that shortly. Plus, Church of England, they'll be looking at abuse measures today at their General Synod meeting. And we will end the show with the brilliance that comes from the sound of silence. Yes, indeedy. I hope you're all okay, you beautiful people. Our lovely Armand Adams in the comments, he's been in hospital. You still hopefully moving hospital to a local hospital still in Cardiff. Got all the concerts, lol, for free though. Bless your heart. He's been through it and back again. Morning to you, Merv, and morning, Ven and Jackie. Jam-packed lineup, indeed. And Sue and Brett and Tamsin and Synchronized Soul and Fun Times Forever. Lots of good subjects and guests. Indeed, indeed, indeed. And today in France, primarily known for Bastille Day on Monday, the 14th of July. It's the French national holiday. It commemorates the storming of the Bastille on July the 14th, 1789, which is actually considered a pivotal event in the French Revolution. No one does revolutions like the French. I wish we Brits did. Take that how you wish. So what's coming up this week? Well, today in Parliament, as I've already mentioned, Wes Streeting, our Health Secretary, he'll be answering questions. His formal title is Secretary of State for Health and Social Care. He'll be answering questions to do with the 10-year health plan. And primarily, they will be discussing the 3 shifts that will be taking place with our National Health Service. And these are analog to digital, sickness to prevention, and hospital to community. Lots of buzzwords there. But essentially, it boils down to this. If you don't have the NH app, you ain't getting in. Witnesses will be asked about the plans for neighbourhood health services and the government's ambitions for the NHS app. They know this is one of the last throws of their dice in order to be able to get us onto digital ID. And how much more egregious could it get that if you are not fully up to par in terms of your digitals, that you would be denied healthcare? Don't put it past them. You know what they're like. This 10-year health plan is absolutely about advancing our digital society. Next, we'll all be wearing wearables, just as the US's RFK Jr. wants us to. The plan was unveiled a couple of weeks ago by Keir Starmer and Wes Streeting. And they, as I say, they've used lots of buzzwords such as a doctor in your pocket, which is the app they're talking about. And they're saying that if you have the app, it's going to be easier to get appointments, that there'll be a shift towards preventative medicine and neighbourhood health centres. The biggest problem is that successive health governments, let me just show you, this is what they're going to be discussing today. Successive governments have always sought to restructure the NHS because a lot of parliamentarians are associated with private healthcare companies. And seldom has this been more obvious than around 2012, 2013, when they were doing amendments to the Health and Social Care Bill, which was essentially privatising 49% of NHS hospital beds. And that's what they were pushing for. And because whichever party it is, by the way, whether it's Labour or Conservative, they all want a more privatised NHS, and they certainly want to be able to thrust digital ID at us on the back of so-called health. And the part of the problem with the NHS is that they like to claim that they can fix everything, and that includes obesity as one example. Well, I would argue against this, because their way of fixing obesity is to give people these jabs that are already showing quite serious side effects for many people. And I think that the NHS, I think probably some of my ideas about the NHS probably be quite controversial. For one example, I don't necessarily agree with fertility treatment on the NHS. I know people don't like to hear that. But that's one example. And no, I don't necessarily. I think that where we go wrong with the NHS is it should be about more to do with prevention, but they're not prepared to explore that. They're not prepared to explore more natural remedies. It always has to be through big pharmaceutical companies. Always the same way. And when they were exploring more alternative ways to do with health, they started to they started to remove them from the NHS, such as, for example, homeopathy. There's so much you can't have on the NHS now. There's issues with having your feet even inspected and checked. They've privatized out so much to do with their friends. What's this? And Shug said, my pal spent thousands on fertility treatment. I told him to take the phone out of his pockets. Healthcare is an industry, says Marcuson. It is indeed, but I'm not sure who's getting health out of this. But anyway, so that's what they're going to be doing today. He'll be answering his questions. And the idea that Labour will still be in 10 years' time is frankly farcical. So I think that this is another moving around the chairs on the decks of the Titanic in order to be able to further privatise it and lock us into a digital ID system. I mean, it's like it's written. It's already written there, right? Today, also, the Church of England General Synod. This is the National Assembly of the Church of England. They get together, they approve legislation which affects the whole of the Church of England. They formulate new forms of worship. They work out what they're going to do with the many millions of children who have passed through their doors who have been abused. Well, at least that's what they're going to be doing today. They are meeting today to discuss the abuse redress measures. This is about who may or may not be entitled to compensation following abuse at the hands of somebody to do with the Church of England. On the screen, you will see former Archbishop Justin Welby, who eventually left his post, but he clung on for a very long time. And it was to do with the other man, John Smyth. John Smyth abused at least 100 children through the Church of England that we know about. He is almost certainly responsible for at least one murder, because after they realized what was going on in England with this man, they then parked him off to Africa, as you do. And there was a huge report into him last year, and it resulted in Archbishop Justin Welby leaving his post. And as I say, not before time, frankly. So the entitlement redress scheme, this is about anybody who has been sexually abused, physically abused, spiritually abused, financially abused, psychologically or emotionally abused, and neglected, maltreatment, any of these things that could have happened via seniors in the Church of England towards people. And it's not just children on this occasion. But also what's interesting is because they understand that when people suffer such egregious abuse as is suffered via religious means, then Some people take their lives. That often happens. Well, this abuse redress scheme is quite interesting because they're also prepared to compensate dependents of the person who suffered abuse in the event that the person isn't around anymore. The Church of England is hideously wealthy, and they certainly have plenty of money to throw around, no doubt about it. And this abuse redress scheme will also consider a surviving partner, a dependent child, or a dependent parent of a person who suffered abuse and has died. So they will be discussing that this week. Make of that what you will. Let me just see if my guest is here. No, not yet. Right, let's see what's going on. It's what churches have done for ages. Yes, indeed, Randy. That's exactly what churches have done for ages. Right. The stuff has been hitting the fan over the weekend. This was Friday's show, and many of us were extremely indignant about what was happening in terms of Jeffrey Epstein and the Epstein files, and the fact that the Trump administration has spent all of this time teasing people. Pam Bondi is like, I've got all this information on my desk, and each of them, Kash Patel, oh, when we get in, number one, this is our priority anyway. Eventually, last week, it was like, files closed. There's nothing here. We've got nothing to see. Move along. Well, it turns out there's plenty to see, right? Because one of the things that they did was they released footage outside Jeffrey Epstein's prison cell. And it turns out that it's been modified. I know you're shocked. They were like, this is the raw data from outside his prison cell. The reason that there's a missing minute is because the system resets every night. This is what Pam Bondi told us. Well, according to Wired, actually, the 11 hours of what was originally described as full raw surveillance footage has been significantly modified. The metadata embedded in the video and analysed by Wired, and also independent video forensics, show that rather than being a direct export from the prison surveillance system, the footage was indeed modified, likely using professional editing tools such as Adobe. The file appears to have been assembled from at least 2 source clips. It's been saved multiple times, exported, and then uploaded to the Department of Justice's website, where it was presented as raw footage. What a crock. What a crock. Just to be clear, though, experts are cautioning that it's unclear what exactly was changed and that the metadata alone does not prove deceptive manipulation. Well, they have to say that, don't they? They have to cover their backs. I know that you lot will have plenty to say about it. And to see who is bought or so invested they don't feel that they can change course, check out who is contorting themselves beyond belief to make sense of this, including Alex Jones and Charlie Kirk. These two are enablers, absolutely enablers. Let's not waste a second. Let's bring in our first guest. He's already here. Let's bring him in. Hello, Ray. How are you? Hello, Ray. Hello, Ray. Hello, Ray. Can you see me? Hello, Ray. This is Raymond Gilbert on the screen, everybody. He was convicted. Hello, Ray.
I'm on, look.
Yes, you're on.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's still going.
We might have some problems with this, Ray.
In a circle.
Hello? Hello? We may have some problems with bringing Ray on. It's, I don't think he can hear me. Hello, Ray. Hello, Ray. No, I don't think he can hear me. I'm going to have to, let me just see. I'm going to send it back out again, and hopefully that's not working. It's not working. Hello, Ray. Hello, Ray. Rumbling Ray, says Derek. I hope I can bring in Ray. He was convicted of the 1981 murder of Toxteth bookmaker John Suffield. He spent 36 years in prison for a crime he says he did not commit. Can you hear me, Ray? He can't. He can't. Hello. That's such a pity, isn't it? That's such a pity. He is a ray of sunshine. The 1 minute edit is props to divert the discussion. Yes, I know. I thought that as well, Sandy. Well acknowledged. Ray, hello. 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 I'm going to remove that until he's hopefully sorted out. I sincerely hope he does. Let me move on with some more news until hopefully. It would be such a pity if we can't have Ray join us, because I think that we talk a lot, don't we, about miscarriages of justice around here, where the criminal justice system oftentimes is so obsessed with making sure that they get their numbers up. It does happen. It absolutely does happen that innocent people, completely innocent people, often end up being the victims of miscarriage of justice. And I've talked with Ray before. Drew Kai, Sonia needs an assistant. I do. I absolutely do. But it's until that is achievable, I will have to do it all myself, because that's just the way it goes. Ray cannot hear me. No, he cannot. So he's clicked off. So hopefully he'll come back in again and we shall see. Let me cover some more news while we're waiting to see if he's able to do that. This was interesting, right? Do you remember last week we talked about 7/7? Obviously, 7/7 is what we use to talk about the what's so named London terrorist attacks on July the 7th, 2005. Let me just see if he's come back in again. And what was interesting is this is Sir Ian Blair. He was the cop, the most senior cop who oversaw 7/7. Well, what was curious to me was in the 20th anniversary week of 7/7, Sir Ian Blair dies. He died 2 days after 7/7. And there's much controversy surrounding this man's time when he was in office, including of a racial nature. He was absolutely obsessed with the idea of terrorism. And in November 2005, as one example, it was him who introduced detention without charge. And it actually led to him becoming involved with the idea that the police were increasingly being politicized, which we see that a lot now with Mark Rowley. And what they also, at the time, Ian Blair lobbied MPs to support government proposals to hold terrorist suspects for 90 days. 90 days without charge is extraordinary, isn't it? Terrible stuff. He was also criticised when 78 police officers were involved in an operation to confiscate placards by protester Brian Hoare. Lovely Brian Hoare. Brian Hoare, anti-war campaigner. He was outside Parliament for decades. And Blair, because he was, as he was, used 78 police officers to confiscate placards, for goodness sake. Let me try Ray again. Hello, Ray, can you hear me? Hello, Ray, can you hear me? Ray can't hear me. Ray can't hear me. Never mind, we'll have to try that another time, Ray. It's not telling me what's wrong from your side. There's nothing I can do. Sorry, Ray. Very sorry. Very sorry. Unfortunately, I can't spend too long trying to connect with somebody because it's very irritating for people watching, which is such a pity because I'd love to bring Ray on. But it's one of those things. Love his T-shirt. He was awesome. Rest in peace. Brian Hoare was. Yes, absolutely he was. And so anyway, I thought that was interesting. It is a shame, Robert. It's such a shame. It's such a shame. The thing is, I'm not sure that he's trying anything different. Ray, can you hear me? He's literally not trying anything different. Right. I'm going to have to, I can't do that anymore. So sorry, Ray. That's such a pity. Right. And also it becomes really distracting when you keep trying to connect and you can't. Right. So Ian Blair death. So yeah, I just thought it was curious. 2 days after the 20th anniversary. And sometimes you have to wonder how much people are impacted by what they're carrying. He saw a lot. He would almost certainly have known what was taking place there about the training exercises, about the serious disparities in the story. And so, yeah, he passed away on the 9th of July. And I'm very reluctant to say rest in peace because I'm one of those people that I don't think just because somebody dies, I don't think you should also automatically make them into a saint. Excuse me, let's check my nose clean. Shouldn't automatically make them into a saint. And he was far from a saint, even though they always try to, don't they? They try and canonize these people. But the reality is that this was a man who oversaw the shooting of, for example, poor John Charles de Menezes. He was the boss. He was the boss, even though it was Cressida Dick who gave the go-ahead to shoot. It was Sir Ian Blair who oversaw the whole thing. And he also repeated false accusations against Jean Charles, insinuating that John Charles was in some way responsible for what happened. Absolutely outrageous stuff. Absolutely outrageous stuff. So, yes, I'm sorry that we couldn't bring Ray in. That is such a pity because it's such a powerful story. And he had a signed copy of his book that he was going to give away as well. We will try and organize that again, and I'll do some checks with him as well. Such a pity. I'm sorry about that, peeps. It might be one of those days. Sometimes that just happens, right? Now, this is interesting, and I can't get further confirmation of this, but I was told yesterday by a source that ex-Royal Marine Paul Doyle is back in court tomorrow. Now, Paul Doyle is the man who allegedly drove into people at the Liverpool parade on Monday, the 26th of May. Now, what's interesting about that was we were told that his next court appearance is not until the 14th of August before a provisional trial date on the 24th of November. But one of my contacts said to me yesterday, he's back in court tomorrow. Now, that's what I've been told. Some of the interesting stuff that has taken place around this, which you may or may not be aware, but one of the things that I thought was interesting was the prosecution sought quite significant reporting restrictions around this story. And what they wanted was that they wanted none of the victims to be identified, which is really odd. This is not a sexual case. Everything happened very publicly. We saw it. People saw it in real time. Saw it happening. But anyway, either way, the court denied it, and the victims will be identified as the court hearing proceeds. And again, it's a live case, a warning. They've put out a warning, as they always do, about social media commentary, because you have to be careful. There are legal risks of online speculation. There is an issue of contempt of court. If you are posting material that could prejudice a future trial, that's a criminal offence. This includes implying guilt, speculating about motives, or discussing past alleged behaviour. None of those things are allowed. Ray is giving it another shot. Ray is giving it another shot, and I'm prepared to give it another shot. It won't be for that long, though, because it may clash with our next guest, but Ray is going to give it another shot. And as long as he's prepared to give it another shot, I'll give it another shot. We'll see what happens there. So I just think that's interesting. Why would the prosecution seek to have such reporting restrictions that we couldn't know who the victims were? Thought it was odd. Come on, Ray, says Randy. Marco says, let's go, Ray. Indeed. Let's go, Ray. Come on, Ray. You can do this, Ray. You got this, Ray. We're all raying him on, aren't we? We're all raying him on. What else can I cover while I am waiting for him? He's discombobulated me somewhat, but I'm sure I'll get through it. This weekend marked the second Saturday of demonstrations against the proscribed group Palestine Action. Second week of demonstrations. This follows, obviously, the government prescribing the group under the Terrorism Act 2000 last Friday, not Friday, it's gone the Friday before. It means that being a member of Palestine Action or supporting it is a criminal offence, which is punishable by up to 14 years in prison. And this weekend, some 41 people were arrested by the Metropolitan Police. Meanwhile, officers also arrested 29 people under the Terrorism Act 2000 across similar events in Manchester and Cardiff this weekend. I understand that there will be a third weekend of protests which are planned. And obviously, this is very interesting stuff because people are not prepared to accept this. They see this very much as clamping down on our freedom of speech. And it is a problem. We know it's a problem. And one of the reasons that we know it's a problem, because we know that the UK is infiltrated. We know that the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has received money via the Israeli lobby. And this is the first time in history that a protest group has been proscribed. It was proscribed in a batch, essentially. So MPs got to vote in a batch, and they put Palestine Action in with two other groups that other people said were unquestionably terrorist groups. But Palestine Action is now deemed a terrorist group, and people don't like it and are protesting against it across the UK. They're not happy. The Zionists are in charge, but I suspect not for long, because I don't think I've ever seen a time like this before. Like this level of transparency that's taking place now, we are seeing it so clearly. And these people who are out demonstrating, a lot of them are elderly, and they've reached a stage in their life where they're like, sod this. This is really dangerous what's happening in the UK. And I heard somebody talking, I think it was Alison Phillip, who used to be an editor at the Daily Mirror. This should tell you all you need to know about the legacy media. And she was talking about how Keir Starmer doesn't always get it right, but he's trying to. Let's see if we can bring Ray back in briefly. Can you hear me, Ray?
I can, yes.
Ray can hear us now. Ray, it's lovely that we've got you on, but I'm going to have to be super quick because my next guest is actually due to join us in about 5 minutes, right? But I wanted to be able to bring you on at least, right? So here you are. It's good to have you with us. Let's see if we can speak at speed, Ray. You up for that?
I am, yes.
Good man. Ray, you were convicted of a murder, of the 1981 murder of Toxteth bookmaker John Suffield. You spent 36 years in prison for a crime you say you did not commit. You have now, you're free now, you're out, but you were kept inside for a very, very long time because you refused to admit your guilt. Ray, what have you submitted to the CCRC, the Criminal Cases Review Commission?
We've submitted 4 or 5 reports, one done by an expert on death scenes, two ex-police officers, one who's worked on cases in Ireland and over here, and one who reviewed the witness evidence by people from jail. They've submitted reports. We've had a report submitted by a person, a good friend who passed away a few years ago, on language. That's gone in. The submission was submitted by a good friend, and they come back and said they were going to look at the DNA and also review the report because they hadn't previously been put in before. Myself and my wife and the experts had reviewed the evidence and come up with certain aspects that had never been heard before, because this was because evidence was withheld, and we've looked at our evidence, found stuff that had never been heard before. So they're going to look at it. We should get feedback within the next couple of months as to what's going on.
Well, it's interesting. Legacy media is finally starting to cover your story properly. And this one is a typical example. You say, I was a crook, but I was never a killer. One of the essential things that they used around you was this whole idea that you gave a confession. What happened with that false confession, Ray?
I was coerced, I was threatened, and I was assaulted. This is in the time of just before the Toxteth riots in 1981, and we've got evidence from Chief Constable, who was part of the Coloured Officers Association, who admitted that they were targeting the Toxteth community in 1981, especially people of race. And we've got people who were activists live on TV saying police used to stop you back in the day, and if you acted in the wrong way, they'd transport you somewhere, beat you up, take you to the police station, make false charges, and they're forever stitching people up.
It's a terrible situation. You have a book, updated book, actually. Is this written by a relative of yours, Ray?
No, it's written by my good wife.
Wonderful. 36 years, a true story. Tell us a little about it, and you're going to give away a signed copy to one of our viewers. The pain that you and your good wife must have endured, this must have been cathartic for both of you, her writing this.
No, because it's like there was a lot of frustrations because I don't know how to use a computer, and I actually got on her nerves because she was writing it. But yes, she's it was about my life. I mean, we've only put certain bits in to make it simple for people to understand. I mean, we do want to do one on my time in care, which will deal with the other issues. But yes, she very understanding. She sat there day in, day out doing it, even though she might have got annoyed at times with me because I'm a pain in the butt at certain times.
Well, aren't we all? Aren't we all, Ray? But the thing is that I don't think anybody can really imagine what you've been through because you were ordered to serve a minimum of 15 years. You ended up serving actually 3 decades because you refused to admit that you had done this. And of course, they're not even going to put you up for parole unless you say, I did it, Governor, and you refused to. Well done. What happened eventually that you were released?
I went up for my 12th review. I was in HMP Kennett before it shut, and the parole board said we understand your stance on the case, and it's nothing to do with the case now. It's whether you can be dealt with in society. So after the board sat, 2 weeks later, I actually got me notice that I was being released.
Ray, how do you adjust back to living in society after you've been inside for over 3 decades? How does that work?
Well, they were letting me out on days out, and then they started letting me out on home leave, which I had to go to a hostel in Egbert in Liverpool. And then I was working outside in the prison kitchen, and then did a bit of charity work in a charity shop. So that was to climatize me to outside. It wasn't easy, It's because some people knew who I was, and you get horrible looks and horrible stares. And now with everything that's been in the media the last couple of years, maybe people now might understand that I haven't done this crime and what people go through.
I mean, that's the other thing is it's not just about you adjusting society, it's the way that people view you as well. Are you living in the same area that you were then?
No, I'm elsewhere.
I mean, and presumably it's just got too many bad memories for you. Were you with your wife before you went in?
No, my wife knew about my case years ago, and she was involved in the miscarriage of justice world, trying to help people.
So the thing is with miscarriages of justice is it often means that the real perpetrator is still roaming around outside, and they were so keen to fit you up. There was a second man as well, wasn't there? John Kamara. He served more than 19 years in prison. He was exonerated in 2000. So the 2 people who were in prison for this were not responsible for it. So that means there's a high likelihood there's still somebody wandering around out there, right?
That's right. If they're able to find material to conduct DNA testing, that will give them the answer they need. If they can get DNA. I mean, the fact is, they can get DNA off bodies going back hundreds and hundreds of years. So whatever they've got with the new advanced techniques, we're hoping that solves this case.
It must be so painful when you are convicted of something that you know you haven't done, and because every day must feel like a century when you're inside. I've been arrested. I've been in a cell overnight for being naughty when I was in my 20s, right? But it's nothing in comparison to what you have endured. How do you manage to keep your head without just going insane in such a situation, Ray?
I was fighting the case, so I was always writing
Right.
letters to everybody. I wasn't what you say, a model prisoner. I was always getting shanghaied from one prison to another for being a subversive inmate. So the system didn't like me at all.
And probably likes you even less now because you're challenging it. You're out and you're challenging it. And I think this will be interesting because we're seeing a lot of problems, aren't we, with the CCRC? I don't need to tell you that. The problems that they've had, Andrew Malkinson is one example who was falsely accused of rape. They refused to look at his information. They just denied Jeremy Bamber now, even though there is some stunning new evidence. So what are your hopes?
My hopes is that what they've got and they're looking at now, they will send it back. The CCRC was set up originally where these doubts on the cases to refer them back. They're now acting as police, judge, and jury. That wasn't the role. There was initially 50 cases went back to the CCRC when it was transferred from the Home Office to the CCRC. My case was one of those 50 that originally went there when it was first created. And they're just not doing the job. They had evidence there for Andrew Malkinson going back years and just hid it. The other kid who did 38 years from Birkenhead, Peter Sullivan.
Oh, that's
He
right.
didn't do it. You got Bamber. You can't have a fair trial where 136,000 pieces of evidence has been withheld. That is not a trial.
And the thing is, when you look back on that now and throughout in your book, because I haven't read your book, but in your book, I presume you talk about the trial, and because they only presented a very distorted view of what was going on. They said that your confession was plausible, but just remind us of the circumstances under which you were coerced into writing that confession.
I was in an interview room. It was the third interview. They were playing bad cop, good cop. He had two photo fits on the table when I walked in the room. And one of them was smashing the table. That's you. That's your mate. That's you. That's your mate. If it isn't you and that's not him, who is it? And this fella was just in my face constantly. It's you. It's you. I've got 10 years left. He's got 15 years left. You will never be out by the time we actually retire. So they were adamant. They said, from information we've received from the community, you two are both a team. Your mate's the bag man, you're the everyman. And that's when it started getting worse. At the time, they did not know I had vulnerabilities myself. I had a speech defect myself. So when I was ever put under pressure, my speech would deteriorate. So if I was quiet because I couldn't get my words out, they assumed I was guilty of it.
And
so
you were very young. What were you, 23?
No, I was 22.
I mean, you were practically a kid. For them to put you under this extreme pressure, so they were determined to nail you. So had you crossed any of these cops before? Because you talked about being a petty criminal before. Had you crossed them before?
No, I'd never been nicked in Toxteth. Oh, I've been nicked once in Toxteth before, but I didn't come across these. I didn't even know them. They even tried to say I was entering a barber shop the day they arrested me, which is not even true.
They completely fabricated the story against you. Do you feel that they were determined to nail you?
They were determined to get anybody they could, who they could get to confess and just to solve the crime, because we don't know who it is. We don't know if the people were white or mixed race or black. Nobody knows, because everyone's saying you didn't see anybody go in, you didn't see anybody come out. So if they don't know who it was that went in or come out, well, why have they targeted the coloured community? Because to them, that's the easy option.
How has this impacted your life, Ray? Because thankfully you have a wife, which is wonderful. What about children?
No, I came out of prison in 2016. I think too old. Probably it took me a while to get used to things outside. Started working. I kept that job for a couple of years, and then I had to walk away because of the stress I was being put under because of the actually case. People found out where I worked about the case, and then I started getting a hard time off everybody that worked there. So in the end, I got a Ring doorbell on my flat. I had people coming up to the door, trying the door, whilst I was actually sitting in my flat. So I thought, no, I'm going to have to go, because some people who'd been named were actually family of theirs, lived upstairs in the block that I actually lived in. And I didn't want to have that opportunity where I bumped into them and something else happened. And then I've got people outside who used to go around to certain relatives of mine, and there was a bad atmosphere. They knew me, I knew them, and you could feel the bad order in the air. So I just thought the best thing to do is move. So I've moved, found a fantastic wife. She's great, and she's helped me immensely. And you know what? It's just unfortunately that can't have kids.
Hallelujah for her. Absolutely. Let me read you some of these conversations. Well, that's the first question. Have they compensated you?
No, it's not about money. They changed the rules several years ago where you would only be limited to £1 million. It's about being able to walk out, hold my head up high, and say, I've not done this crime. There's nothing to do with cash. It's about proving innocent.
We're not talking about your motive, but from us looking in, I'm saying if they banged me up for 30 odd years for a crime I didn't commit, I sure would want some compensation. Anybody would, Ray. Anybody would.
But I understand your question, but the main point of this is being able to walk out your house, not having to keep watching your back, and be able to say, I am innocent. That is the main priority.
That's what you need them to do now. Let me read you some more of these comments. Stephen says, this is why I am against bringing back the death penalty. Police seem too often to get it wrong. Absolutely right. If we had the death penalty, Ray may not be here to tell us that he's a miscarriage of justice. So that's one example. Ray J says, fit up. That was the norm back then. Set up is norm now. And Shug says the entire system is corrupt to the core. And I mean, do you feel it is, Ray? Do you feel that the entire system is absolutely shot?
I think it is, yeah. Justice in this country, nah, it doesn't work. You've had that many cases that why can't they learn? You've had the Guildford 4, the Birmingham 6, the Maguire 7, the Carl Bridgewater case, the Cardiff 5. Now these latest cases as well. You think they'd learn, but the CCRC have done nothing but suppress evidence to stop people from thinking. So it makes you wonder whether they were set up to stop cases from going back to appeal.
Well, see, here's the thing, is that what we absolutely know, and I've talked to Dr. Michael Norton about this. You know Dr. Michael Norton, don't you? I think he supported your case as well. And that they don't want to admit when they've made a mistake. Police forces don't want to admit it. CPS don't want to admit it. Judges and juries don't want to admit. Nobody wants to admit when they've falsely imprisoned somebody, Ray. And that's what you're up against, isn't it, with the CCRC?
Yeah. You're fighting the CCRC, and they're controlled by the government when it should be an independent body, which it's not.
I mean, I just don't know how you adjust to life again outside. Even simple things must be weird, Ray. Like being able to get your own breakfast, as one example. Being able to watch what you want when you want. Being able to walk outside the house. All of that must take some adjusting to.
I think it does to a degree, but then it depends how mentally strong you are to actually cope with something different. When you're inside, you have to adopt a different kind of personality, because if you're weak inside, you will get preyed on by them who are stronger. It's a dog-eat-dog world inside. People don't understand. People think it's a holiday camp. It's far from a holiday camp. Believe me. Now, it's even worse since I've been out. The corruption is unreal. I mean, drugs, hooch, people are making weapons, people are being attacked. Used to have gang wars going on. And so anybody who's going to jail, I actually fear for these people. You've got prisons now. Like, I think there's a prison in Wales, Swansea. People are getting attacked on a regular basis. Your dispersal system is dangerous. People's lives. You can look at the person the wrong way, and they might want to try and get in your cell the next day, trying to kill you.
And then you got Ray, how much complicity? Now, obviously, I understand that it's fiction, quote unquote, but I like In the Line of Duty, right? I like that. It's about police corruption. Yeah. I don't know if you've ever seen it. And obviously, it shows about like massive police corruption that takes place that also infiltrates the prisons and everything. How true to life do you think that is?
That was, I think, the most truest program I've seen about corruption. Just take the Stephen Lawrence case. That just shows you. And then a couple of years ago, they stopped 2 athletes in their own car and tried to say, "Oh, we could smell cannabis in the car," and then they all got suspended. I think 2 lost their jobs and then got their job back. You know, until they eradicate racism in the Met, things won't change. But it's not just that. You got cops on the take, but it's actually proving it. But most police forces are bang at it. You know what I mean? They're putting people away just on flimsy evidence. You've got the IPP system, which is ludicrous. How can you go to jail, get 30, 35 years just for being there? You don't know what a person's gonna do.
Yeah, that's I've covered that before, the IPP, because that's an old system, isn't it? That's what is it, indeterminate prison? Yeah, that's right. And I interviewed somebody whose partner had stolen a mobile phone like 15 years ago, and he's still in because he's caught in that old system. It's an absolute disaster. I think somebody like you, with your knowledge and your information, should actually be involved in prison reform. What would you do if you were put into a position where we could reform prisons? I've got a little bit of extra time with you because our next guest hasn't arrived, so that's why I'm able to, which is perfect timing, clearly.
I think, for one, shorter prison sentences don't work. Get rid of them. This thing about wanting to do just a judge deal with the cases, no, because it will create more innocent people going to jail if just the judge decides on the evidence. No, I'm not happy about that. We listened to a man who was head of the CPS for the Northwest, I think a couple of years ago. He was talking on the TV. He says the police will withhold stuff that aids their defense until someone brings in a law that compels the police to provide all the evidence they amass you're going to have cases going on and on and on. It needs to be reformed from the bottom up to the top. Politicians should not be using criminal cases for their own gain, which we see time and time again, saying this, saying that about cases to give themselves a big foot up on their politics. Nah, that's wrong. It's too much interference from too many bodies. So the judiciary is not independent from the government. It needs to be sectioned away with no interference from government in any case, judicial case.
And because what you're talking about is their proposal to do away with jury trials, right? Which would be devastating, wouldn't it? Devastating.
Yeah, because the actual right of a person, if he's been accused, which goes back hundreds of years, is the right to a trial before 12 of his own peers. And they don't want to do that. If they do that, it's going to run along the lines of the way they do in Ireland, diplock courts, where a judge decides on the evidence.
Right.
Yeah, that's wrong.
Yeah, it's completely wrong. It's completely wrong. So, Ray, as I say, you've got a book to give away. Before we just explain that to people, let me just read some more of these comments. TD says, to steal someone's years is one of the worst crimes you can do. Time is precious and the state have all the time and the money. And that is what happens, is that the state literally uses our money against us when it is determined that it wants to nail somebody. And Maria says, why can't we charge them with false evidence? Well, we can. Police can be charged with perjury, but it's very difficult proving it, isn't it, Ray?
It is. I mean, if you look at every single case that I've known about since the 1970s, how many police are being put in the dock? Not many at all. It is wrong. I mean, them three that were involved in the Stephen Lawrence case, 5
and
should have been charged.
6. Yes.
Yeah. Not the people who were they said actually were involved, but the police, because they've done nothing.
The police automatically assumed, because Stephen and Dwayne were black, they automatically assumed that it was gang related. That's what the police did. They immediately made the victims the perpetrators. That's what they did. Institutionally racist Metropolitan Police. That is what they did. And you were suffering a very similar thing in Toxteth. And so we know it's gone on for a very long time and it has to change. Ray, so you are giving away a copy of your book, which is fantastic. Here it is. Let's just have a look at it. Add it to the stage so everybody can see it. 36 years, a true story. Usual rules apply, peeps. Please send in to my email address, soniapoulton@sky.com. Subject, Ray's book or comp, whatever you want. And the first one randomly picked after 6 p.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, will win a signed copy of Ray's book. Ray, things have worked out pretty well this morning in the end, because my next guest didn't arrive. So it obviously everything was exactly how it was meant to be. So Ray, before you leave us, what do you want to say?
I want to say thank you for having me on. I want to say thank you to Steph, Leanne, Ailey, Tony, Chris and Bill for their support. Also to Paddy Edwards of the Liverpool Echo and to Katie of Grenada Reports, and anybody who has supported me over the years. I want to thank you all for getting my case where it needs to be at this minute in time.
And I have to agree with Anna Marie. She says we were meant to hear his story. Indeed, we were. Life is a funny thing sometimes, right? Mrs. Pirate says, I'll be buying his book. And Ray's turned out to be a great guest, says Fallon Fox. Indeed, he has. And we, you know, the thing is, Ray, when I heard your story the first time, and because you have people like Dr. Michael Norton behind you, and these are people I trust, they know what they're doing. They don't just go that everybody is innocent. They look into things very thoroughly, very deeply. And once they had told me about you, I was like, okay, let me look into Raymond Gilbert. And here we are. This is Ray Gilbert. And I believe that Ray Gilbert was framed, as indeed do many, many people. Take good care of yourself, Ray. Lots of love to you. Thank you for joining us this morning.
thank you for having me on. And
Pleasure.
I hope whoever it is looks forward to having a book and reading it. And if people want to buy it, you can just go on to Amazon and order on Amazon.
I've already put a link in the description, Ray. You take good care of yourself. Everybody, Ray Gilbert.
Thank you for having us on.
Take care,
Cheers,
sweetheart.
thank you.
Bye.
Okay, take
Bye.
care. Thank you.
Bye. Great. It's one of those days because I already see our guest here. He's here, David. Where have you gone? Where's he? Just disappeared off the screen. What just happened? David Miller just showed up on the screen and he's just gone off. Has somebody hacked me today, people? What's going on? What's going on? Worth waiting for, says Jack's dreaming. Where are you, David? Oh, no. Hello. You just went off. Poor David. He was in the studio. See, this is weird, right? Poor David was waiting from 9:30. I couldn't see him. Why is that? What has happened there? What has happened there? Hello. It's one of those days, peeps. It's one of those days. Just to let you know, I have decided to do the unimaginable. I'm going to take 2 weeks off in August around my birthday. So it will be mid-August until the end of August, just to refresh, get myself ready and prepared for the new season. Hello. You just went off. Let me see if I can bring him back in. Hopefully. Thank you, Fred. We're having one of those days. I hope I can get back in. David Miller, his story is extraordinary. David is an example of what happens when you stand up to the Zionist lobby. He's currently being privately prosecuted. He's been put through all manner of ringers for daring to say the unsayable in many respects. Hello, David. Can you see me? Hello? Hello? Oh, hello. No, I can see and hear you. I can't see and hear you. That's so weird. I cannot see or hear David. That's so weird. Can't see you. Weird. Having to do all this live as it goes. No, it showed him briefly for about a minute and then it went back off again. That's just odd, isn't it? That's just really odd. Let me try another. Yes, please. Try another browser. Love to speak to David Miller. And what we might end up having to do is take in our next guest and take it from there. Because David Miller's story, I think, is, first of all, he was the person who proved in law that in the UK, saying that you're anti-Zionist is an opinion that is to be respected in a democratic society. And lots of people, they want to attack you, don't they? The amount of crap I've taken since I did that investigation into the infiltration of the UK is quite unbelievable. People who I had no idea about have come out and, you know, have emailed me. I've been harassed. I think I've got a new stalker, and it's all around the same thing because they don't like us to say the things that they're trying to get everybody banned from saying. And they try and get us into a position where they want us to be seen as anti-Semitic. Anti-Zionism is not anti-Semitism, as has been established. And David is the man who can tell us more about that. So I would very much like to bring him back in if I can. Let me try another browser. Yes, please. Maybe it's just the weather. I don't know what's going on. What's that? Censored version. I had to leave the country. I remember that. And do you remember David Clues from UNN, right? He had to leave the country for a period of time because they did a hit job on him. I remember it was in the papers. We actually had him on live, didn't we? From his location, wherever he was. So that was odd. Francis says, Israel is our closest ally. I see. Penny says, hello, lovely people. What's happening? Seems to be technical problems. We are definitely having technical issues today, Penny. There's no getting away from it. Francis, I actually have to disagree with you. But the great thing about Wake Up is we do allow diversity of opinion. I think it's important. Mayday said he got doxxed. Who got doxxed? Was that David Clues? I remember that. Anybody remember that? Yes, how dare you dislike something? You must accept it all, no matter how horrific, says Drew Kai. Marco says, what does everyone think of these plane crashes this year? Too many to ignore. Very weird. Well, the thing is that oftentimes if things are highlighted like this, it appears like there's some sort of pattern taking place. But it also could be that this has already been happening and been happening for a long period of time, and they just haven't chosen to highlight it. I've lost all faith in any media out there, like any legacy media, whatever it's telling me. I find it almost impossible to accept. I can't ever accept it at face value. It would be really stupid to accept it at face value. Yes, Francis, we are allowed difference of opinion around here. It's important. It's important because the things, there's enough wars taking place out there, right? So I always like it if we can reach some kind of agreement here, which is not always possible. Not always possible. Simon, is that actually true that you were in the Guinness Book of Records because your large appendage? I just find that extraordinary information that would be conveyed via the Guinness Book of Records. Are we sure about that? Yes, NCP, got you. Lovell, yes. Wait, Kate Shemirani, have anybody seen what her son has been saying? I saw that this morning. Lovely. Charlotte Baroness tweeted something, but I tell you what, at least two of my guests have just arrived on screen. So I'm going to bring them in before we have any more tech issues. Okay. I'm going to bring them in before we have any more tech issues, people. Let's bring them in. Sadie and Katie Joe from Hope, Sussex. Hooray, we've managed to bring them in. I've been losing people on the stream this morning.
Sorry. We're here. Don't panic. We're here.
Yeah, that's wonderful. And wonderful. You've got that big, wonderful poster in the background. People may not be familiar with what you do. You kind of emerged during the C19 era, didn't you? Give people a little bit of an idea of your background, what goes on there in Sussex.
We did. So 2019, we both felt compelled to do something. Yeah. And so we started community, and we joined forces, and Hope was born.
Yeah, so, and we're now about to start our 5th year. We're going really strong, and we are an amazing community down in Hope, Sussex, or down in East Sussex. We're near Bastille, and we have a lovely site with buildings. We primarily here for home educating families, but we also have a wonderful array of events that take place throughout the year with comedy nights, workshops, talks, festivals, conferences, and our biggest event of the year.
The big OG, the original Freedom Music Festival.
Yeah, the original.
So back in,
and so that takes place. Let me wait, actually, do you know what? By the miracle of modern science, I think I had uploaded this. Oh my gosh, I have. There you go. That's the 22nd to the 25th of August. There you go. And loads of people there, of course. Danny Ramplin, UK Column, Philly J. Lay, lovely Clive the Carl, loads of great people. Mad Mix, yes. We love Mad Mix. John Preston, 23 fields. It goes on and on and on. That's a huge amount to organise. It's almost like a kind of mini Glastonbury you've got going on there, a more radical Glastonbury.
Yeah, it's much better than Glastonbury.
Oh, 100%. You won't get fleeced. We promise you.
No.
No, it's amazing. We are so lucky in the freedom movement with the talent we have of the artists. And we've got Soon-T back again. She was here last year. Loved it so much. She's coming back again. If you've never seen her live, she's phenomenal. We have our regular Danny Rampling, Slip, Matt, LSD, all of these incredible artists that have supported us every single year. And this year, for the first time, we have Dub FX and his lovely wife, Sahida Absara. They're amazing. Amazing. We couldn't be more excited.
And we're welcoming Matt Hoy for the first time as well.
Yes.
Lovely Matt.
So many artists,
lovely Matt.
Forget somebody.
There's so many names. Absolutely so many names. Yogi Man, DJ Nos, Roger Hubbard, Outlandish, Whom by Fire, who's also been on with us, Fergus, Ben White. It goes on and on and on. Now, here's the thing. Your kind of community, although I wasn't raised in that sort of community, I come from a hippie family. You may or may not be able to tell. And so I was raised very much around that whole kind of vibe. And my brother, as one example, home educated his son. I partly home educated my daughter. I think we've discussed this before, the importance of it. But I've never known a time, actually, I have to say, where I think that home education has come into its own and has become so important, because they were never educating children, but at least we knew that they were educating them at least to stop the factories. Now they're educating them to indoctrinate them. What does your home education entail?
Well, I mean, what's really interesting, Sonia, is that people that never even thought about home educating are doing it. So, you know, myself included in that, it was not something that I ever dreamt of doing. I just was, you know, like the average person, went along, put my children into school, just did the norm. And then it wasn't until my daughter, who's now 21, she was in secondary school. I just saw such a decline in her, you know, well-being, that I just pulled her out. And I think more and more people are starting to realize that you don't have to do what they say. You don't have to follow the guidelines, the national curriculum. You can actually, you know, take your children out and enjoy them and have a fantastic time with your kids. Right. It's brilliant. I love home educating.
It's an amazing journey. It really is. And it's, you know, you're learning with your children. It's not something that happens to your children, you know. So at school, you drop your children off. You kind of miss so much of all of that excitement. And home education is it's just so wonderful, because you see the children flourish. And home educated children are different. They are different to the children that go to school. They haven't
been crushed.
No, they're still very creative, and they're great at having conversations and eye contact, and they don't look subservient. So yeah, I mean, obviously we're massive advocates of it, and we support loads of families in their journey. And if it wasn't for Hope, there would be a lot more children back in mainstream education. And we've also supported families to move closer to us as well, so that they can be part of it, because people are realizing now the importance of community and not being isolated. And as you know, through all of what's happened, people have lost so many of their family, have turned their backs on them for, you know, their views. So this is what we need everywhere. We need everybody building community. This is what our focus should be, because we don't know what's in store for the future, but we are definitely stronger 100% together.
100%.
Part of the problem, I should imagine, in terms of the system, is because what you're doing is you're raising independent thinkers, which are not appreciated by the system, because the system does not want critical thinkers. Have you had any interference from the state or local authorities or anything like that? Because I would imagine you'd certainly be on some kind of list. Oh, they did, though, did they?
We have done. Early days, we had the unregistered schools team from Ofsted.
Unregistered schools team. What did they want to know?
And we just stood in our power and just said, no, this is private land. There are children here. You have no right to be here, no right to film. And they tried for about half an hour to get on site. And we just literally stood there and said, absolutely not. You have no rights. And I think as long as people understand and realise that they have the right to say no, you know, and they have the right to decline the entry, then
and we're not doing anything wrong. We're not doing anything.
We aren't running a school. See, it's a community education centre. It's a community centre where independent tutors hire the rooms from Hope and put on classes, and parents and children have a relationship with that tutor. And we just happen to be a wonderful community all in it together.
I mean, we're very open about what we're doing here. There's nothing nefarious going on. Everything is put out on social media. The mainstream press, obviously, who we know are the media, you know, the propaganda arm of the government, have written all sorts of stuff about us, saying that we're raising the next breed of conspiracy theorists and arming them in creating a militia, because we run classes that children are, you know, optionally able to join in with, boxing, archery, things like that. And those subjects are taught in every private school in the country, but that's okay. You know, you can have that taught to privately educated children, but you can't have, you know, the plebs learning it. So they've put a lot of things like that out about us, but it's water for stuff.
But it only brings the right people to us.
It's like advertising.
Right. Exactly. I mean, that's exactly what it does, isn't it?
Tickets for this.
So the Guardian, Daily Mail. Thank you. Can we have another article, please? Yes.
Exactly. So do the children get involved in the festival? Can they hear me?
Yes,
Yeah.
they do. The kids run all different stores. They do loads of different shifts, from marshalling to we've got a jacket potato hut this year that they're going to be doing jacket potatoes from.
We've got all the teens have done their food and hygiene. So they're up. We've got teens who've trained as baristas now, because they don't want to leave when they go and they move on. They want to come back and help, because obviously they've, you know,
their family.
It's their family. It's helped raise them, and so they're giving back. So yeah, it's wonderful. It's really great.
We're going to have a glitter bar this year. Some of the teens are going to do, you know, set up like a dressing room, and you can go in and get your glitter done.
Oh, that sounds lovely. See, the thing is, you make it all sound so idyllic, but people are still people, right? And people are a pain in the ass a lot of the time, okay? Even in communities like yours, right? So you're still dealing with human beings. There will still be people there who are problematic, who are backstabbing, who aren't necessarily on the same page. How do you deal with situations like that in like a community like yours? Because it's not the same as like being on an estate or anything like that. When you're part of a community, it's different, isn't it? So how do you deal with problematic situations?
Put another hat on, don't we?
We've got lots of hats.
We
it's
put
called a
another hat on.
firefighting hat.
Different hat goes on.
Put the firefighting hat on. Do you know what? It's about dealing with things straight away.
Yeah.
Don't sweep anything under the carpet.
No.
Everything has to be spoken about. Everybody has to be, good communication is key, 100% key. And I just think we work well as a team, don't we?
We do.
And we care. Well, that's the difference. We really, really care about everybody in this community.
And generally,
we love them all.
we do 100%. And generally, it's always pretty much down to something quite minor, and it's a miscommunication or a misunderstanding. But yeah, absolutely, we are tricky, and we do need
complex.
You know, we do need that. We need a lot of communication, because we need to really understand each other really well. We don't live together. That definitely helps. So we're non-residential. So we come together, but we do come together very regularly. But generally, it works really well, and it's because we are like-minded and we see the bigger picture.
That does help. But I also think we really do say, you know, leave the ego at the door, at the gate. There's no room for ego. And I think once people realise that we're all here together to you know, to contribute to building this community, 100%. We're all on the same level. There's no hierarchy. I mean, I know me and Sadie are the directors, but that really doesn't mean anything other than we get the rubbish jobs, to be honest.
We empty bins and you know do all those jobs and all the admin.
We're all here to make a better place for our children.
100%, absolutely. And generally, those people have come because they think that we're going to provide them with a service. They're not actually community minded, and they want something to take something from us. And that ultimately, again, it comes down to ego, and that is always the biggest problem. But we've become, now we're quite tuned to that now, I'd say. And
it's quite difficult. We're all learning. We're all on the learning curve. I think it's quite difficult because a lot of people really want to step away from the system as much as they can. They don't want to be dependent on the system. But we were talking earlier about this NHS 10-year plan, which is all about really digital ID and having an app in your pocket. And if you've got that app in your pocket, you can get same-day appointments. So in other words, if you're not prepared to buy into their system, you probably won't even get seen by the NHS or by a doctor anymore. It's getting that bad. How far out of the system can you go before you need the system again? Does that make sense to you?
Yes, it does. I think we're all I think that's the hardest and most tiring part of this journey, isn't it? One foot in that world, one in, one out, that world, and trying to navigate both and have the energy to navigate both. It is exhausting at times. I think we can only do our absolute best, Sonia. That's all we can do. I mean, we have the PHA clinic here once a month, which is a low-cost clinic. I think everybody is understanding that you've got to take responsibility for yourself. Kate Shimarani's been here for the last 6 months doing monthly talks about health. And that is her number one sort of message is we have to start taking responsibility for ourselves, you know, and that's where we have to start, really. Absolutely. I think, you know, we're growing our own veg here. We're trying to eat as healthy as possible and not rely on shops and supermarkets.
That will be our next thing, is that we are trying to develop and build so that, so ultimately we can provide the food, all of the food that we need by having links with local farmers. So we've had the bowler hat farmer here, and we've been talking with him about that and about developing that further. I know Michael Tellinger is quite interested in, because he's developing his One Small Town initiative. And that's very much kind of where we're at in terms of being a hub for people to come to buy instead of going to supermarkets. Wouldn't that be wonderful? Don't have to go to supermarkets anymore. I mean, I hate it. So
I hate it too. I absolutely hate it. I hate those extreme profits going, like into some big black hole. I actually shop local a lot. And I have great relationships with all the local people in the small shops all around us. And because we are, I'm supporting them and they're supporting me, and I know their produce is better. But you just mentioned Kate Shemirani, and I saw this thing that was being tweeted. It scared the life out of me. And that is, the whole thing, the demonization of Kate via Panorama that's taken place. I don't know if you're aware of this, but the Paloma's brother now wants so-called conspiracy theories recognized in law as a weapon of control. They're using the BBC and all of them. They are using a family tragedy, aren't they, to further agendas here. But the idea that us questioning official narratives could become unlawful. What do you have to say to that?
Well, I'm not surprised, if I'm honest. I'm not surprised. They've been trying to shut us up and demonize us forever, so it's not it's just heartbreaking. We are 100% behind Kate. We will support her every step of the way, always have done. She's an incredibly courageous woman, to be going through what she's going through and still be fighting for the justice.
I mean,
of her daughter's death.
she always had her daughter's best interests at heart, and to question that, to weaponize that against her and to say that she had some hand in her daughter's death is the vilest, most worst thing you can ever lay at a mother's feet. And I have to say, I mean, it's really heartbreaking. She was here at Hope yesterday. We had a lot of people here to support her. She
good to hear that.
She told her story to camera with a room full of people supporting her, and it honestly, I mean,
it will be coming out.
It will be coming out very soon.
WTF.
It was amazing. Lovely dude Simon from WTF filmed it. He'll be putting it out. She is such a warrior. She really is. And she just wants to help people. She just wants to warn people.
The woman gives so much time and energy to everybody. She's just so generous with her time.
She really is.
Well, the moment that you put your head above the parapet, they're going to come after you. And I think that this is particularly egregious, to use someone's daughter against them and then to get on side the brothers who are also grieving. This is a grieving family. And so for all of these tentacles, the BBC, Mariana Spring, whomever, for them all they're just predators. They're vultures. That's the only way I can see them, that this is a grieving family and they've taken advantage of it. It's absolutely heinous. So it's really good to hear that she was there yesterday and telling her story. Really, really good stuff. Lovely to see you today. Tell me whatever you want before you leave us today.
Well, before the festival, we do have a fantastic week for families to come and join us. We have Camp Hope, which it's our third year. Third year for Camp Hope, which is a fantastic week. We have loads of sessions by the tutors. We all live as a community. It's looking like it's going to be gorgeous weather. It's just super.
Can I just tell you how much it's so cheap? It's cheaper than camping anywhere in the UK. For an adult to camp for the week, it's £40. And for children to camp for the week and take part in all the classes that we're running
all day and evening,
and
we
like
drumming
full
workshops,
activities of things, including live music.
That is cheap.
It's £100 for the children for the entire week to be, fully entertained. Adults are welcome to come and join in the classes. In fact, we've got classes for adults as well.
Sauerkraut workshop for the adults.
We've got yoga, vision board workshops. We've got so much going on. So that's
amazing. So come to that.
Where do we book? Make all Fiction again says, where do we book? I think I've already put a link in the description to Hope Sussex. And if I haven't, at the end of the stream, I will make sure, because you can book through your website, can't you?
You can for everything. And again, everything at Hope is run by volunteers. We're all volunteers. So every time you come to an event, it means the world to us, because it helps us keep the lights on.
Yeah, by coming to Hope, you're doing a great deed. You're keeping us open and alive for another year to keep those children out of the system. So if you've never been to Hope, please come. Please come support our festival. It's going to be the biggest and best one yet.
Yeah.
Nice one. We love it. Love to see you today. And I actually, this is going to sound odd, but I actually think you mean what you say. And I don't get to say that often, because oftentimes people they just talk shite, don't they? They're like, we're gonna have this gathering, we're all gonna come together and we're all gonna be okay. But you come over as real. Right, you're
totally genuine.
Yeah, and I think authenticity is absolutely the thing these days. Now we're all so sick and tired of people being, louder than everybody else, bigging themselves up more than anybody else. But authenticity wins every damn time.
I agree with you 100%. It's the highest vibration there is.
Totally.
It truly is. Maria says real girl power indeed. Everybody, this is Sadie and Katie Joe, and they're from Hope Sussex, and there should be a link in the description. Lovely to see you both today, ladies.
Thanks, Sonia.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Lovely. Absolutely lovely. Aren't they lovely? They're lovely. And thank goodness, poor David, I do not know what's happening. Restarting, back in. I don't understand. It's almost like he's been blocked. Still can't see you. Odd. Because we'd love to talk to you, but it is literally like poor David Miller has been blocked. Surely that couldn't happen. Right? Thank you. Come back again, says Jackie. Blue Nomad loves what they're doing. I like their vibe. And the reason that I say, because, honestly, one of the things I'm changing so much about Wake Up, and one of the things that I want to change is that everybody seems to think that they're a guru, right? We get lots of people who approach me and like, I'm doing this and I can tell humans how to do this and everything. And I'm kind of sick of all of that whole guru thing. Unless they're teaching you how to be a guru yourself. Surely it could, given the subject. I hope not, but I do wonder. Yes, indeed. Good morning, people. Sorry I'm late, says Trinity. They are so positive. They're so upbeat. It's lovely, isn't it? It's infectious. I think that sort of thing is infectious. Chris, I hope so too. Poor David, he's there in X chat saying, sorry about this. I've been there since 9:30. Can't you see me? Yeah, that whole guru thing, Marco, I'm so kind of sick of it. Because who really knows more than anybody else for the most part? Feeling a bit rebellious today. We are our own gurus. Yes, we are indeed. Randy said, every time someone says they know the whole truth, I move backwards. That's the thing. I like talking to people who have done some exploration into themselves. And therefore, because the whole reason that psychology is a science is because human behavior largely can be predicted. So our interactions, our reactions can be predicted. It can be, as with all science, it can be studied, it can be replicated, and that is human behavior for you. And so I do understand that when people say, yeah, I can give you an insight into this. But honestly, I think that I've had probably now about 20 years of people, claiming to know more about me than me. Well, no, actually, turns out not. But that doesn't mean that everybody is a charlatan. But it just means that I'm going to be much more selective. Yes, indeed. Right. A viewer approached me. Not everyone agrees with what I have to say about chemtrails or geoengineering, by the way. And one viewer wrote in, and big shout out to Thomas. Good morning to you, Thomas. And Thomas said there are a couple of topics where I don't share your views. Absolutely brilliant. Tell me what they are. But also many where I do. The topic that I wish you would debate is chemtrails, not geoengineering per se. Got you. And he goes on to talk about Paul Burgess. Paul Burgess is someone we've had on the show fairly regularly to do with like the climate hoax and the climate lies. And Paul Burgess, it turns out, thinks that the whole chemtrails thing is a nonsense conspiracy theory. And so, because I'm open-minded and because I think that it is important, but I didn't ever want to turn Wake Up into one of those kind of like Good Morning Britain debate shows where person A shouts, person B shouts, nothing gets done. And so I thought about this a little bit more, and I promised Thomas that I would approach Paul and see if he was up for it. And Thomas, I discovered yesterday that the email I sent 2 weeks ago was stuck in my folder. And so I sent it again to Paul, and he has agreed. He said, yes, I would love to have such a debate. My stance is very simple and I can support it with evidence. So this is a shout out to anybody out there. I've got a few people that I think could get involved in this, but what I want is a reasonable conversation. We don't want to be doing any shouty, who can shout the loudest in a debate, right? We want a reasonable conversation where Paul Burgess states his case. I do not believe in not in geoengineering, in chemtrails, and this is why. And I need somebody to come back with proof as much as humanly possible, and explain to Paul why they believe him to be wrong. Intuition said there is no debate, just look at the sky. Well, that is my position, and the reason why I didn't want to do it is because I think Paul is completely wrong on this, but I don't think it's a good position for a host to take. So ideally it is better to bring in somebody else to have that conversation. I can moderate it and see what they both have to say, because if there is a sizable chunk of my audience who are not convinced, perhaps a conversation like this will tip them one way or another. Is that not possible? Jackie, Dale Wigington has turned out to be a bit of a pain, to be honest. I interviewed him 2 years ago. And then most recently, somebody else had said to me, one of the viewers had said to me, can you get Dale on? I approached him. Dale was like, yeah, totally up for it. And then we tried to set a date, and then that has proven impossible. Part of the problem is, of course, he's in America, but I would be prepared to do a pre-record with him. But he's proved somewhat elusive, and I don't necessarily know why. People are like that sometimes. Sometimes they just change their mind, and it could well be that Dale has looked more into me and may have some concerns with his own history that he may not necessarily want explored. I think some people in the comments are saying who he previously worked for. What's this? Fun times. I could be wrong, but I'm sure this current heat is somehow being done by then so they can justify the sun dimming. Heat you, I'll find someone else to message you. Please do. Please do. And again, tell them this is not about gotchas. This is not about, one person being proven to be right and one person to be proven to be wrong. I think that what we need is just like a decent conversation, almost a round table conversation. Yes, Greg. And I possibly as well. Question, argue, debate it all. Yes, Ian, let's bring it out. And I don't do this about every topic, but I think weather manipulation is a big enough topic that impacts us all that we should have a debate about it. If there are people out there saying, I don't believe this, then let's debate it. Let's bring it on. Where is the soil poisoned? And Cavan wants to know why there isn't these protests outside the sites that actually make the chemicals. Why indeed? Jackie follows loads of chemtrail people. Well, Jack, it doesn't have to be somebody who's well known in the field. In fact, I'd be even probably happier to give somebody a platform who hasn't yet had a chance to air their views. I would talk to them beforehand and make sure that they can string together a cogent argument, and we take it from there. And Ray J wants to know, when did 3 days of good weather become a heat wave? Used to be called summer. It's gone funny again now. And my daughter, it's all windy out there. I can see through a window here, and that looks like quite a breeze out there. Yes. Guru, Guru. What's that? 18 HARP facilities around the globe. Only 18? Only 18. Right. Briefly, electric vehicles. I was watching several videos yesterday, and some viewers are deeply concerned about electric vehicles, and they have a right to be. Obviously, the issue to do with lithium batteries, There are so many fire risks that I didn't even realize. It reminds me of when they introduced e-cigarettes and they started to explode in people's pockets, right? And obviously there's this whole big thing that's going on in America at the moment between Elon Musk and Donald Trump, because Donald Trump's, big, beautiful bill, it doesn't cover electric vehicles in the same way that it used to. Elon Musk has received billions of dollars from the American government for his various companies, including Tesla, obviously an electric vehicle, which, as an aside, why is Tesla such an ugly car? We've got two in our street. I just think they're ugly cars. But anyway, that's an aside. So there was that whole issue that there was apparently a falling out with Trump and Elon Musk to do with Trump's less than fulsome backing of electric vehicles. Anyway, I was watching one of the videos that I watched, scared the life out of me, with Professor Paul Christensen. Anybody heard of him? He's from the University of Nottingham. And I sent him an invite to come on. So I'm just going to do just a very brief overview of what he was saying. And one of the things that he said was that London Fire Brigade are dealing with a fire every 2 days started by an electric vehicle. A fire every 2 days. That sounds like a crisis. And he said the same in New York. And some of his warnings, he said, what we actually need is a very serious education campaign. But there's a problem with them doing an education campaign, because the moment you do an education campaign, it alerts people to the fact that there may be a problem. Now, given the fact that the UK government is backing electric vehicles, they won't necessarily want people to know how many problems there are. And it was quite an extraordinary lecture that he gave. And he said that electric vehicles are killing people and every death and injury and fire is preventable. But because the powers that be don't want us necessarily to know about these dangers, we're not being informed. And he gave some basic instructions to be as safe as you can if you have an electric vehicle. We now have 4 charging points in our little street, 4 electric charging points in our street, for goodness sake. So, one of the things he said is do not charge in the home at all. Do not lead it from your home at all. However you do it. He said, do not charge in an exit way. Do not charge in a main gangway. Do not charge if your home is on top of a garage, for example. He said, if you see smoke, do not attempt to put it out. One of the worst things you can do, he said, actually run screaming at the top of your voice to get everyone out. This is very serious. Where are all the warnings about electric vehicles? Yes, make Orwell fiction again. The fire service absolutely need to be the voice for this. Yes, Sugar Puff, Jeff buys cars, reported government wants to subsidize half the price of electric vehicles. And that is the problem we're dealing with. We're dealing with, once again, a bought government who are not prepared to protect the people. But anyway, Professor Paul Christensen, I cannot recommend highly enough his lectures. Hope he agrees to come on, because I think that what he has to say is so valuable. We put it out as a separate video as well, because obviously there is a huge rush on for this. We know in Parliament this week, Ed Miliband, who is in charge of the net zero project and who is compromised like all other politicians. People who have bought into Ed Miliband are part of the net zero agenda. These people are compromised, no doubt about it. They are ripping up farmland and replacing farmland with solar panels. What sort of world are we living in that does that? Who is being paid to keep quiet, says Reba. Well, the problem is that once the government get invested, Reba, then the entire cabinet all rush and rally round. They have an agreed agenda of what they're going to talk about. And at this moment in time, electric vehicles are all go, go, go in the UK. In the US, they aren't. Donald Trump has clearly decided this is not the way forward. And that was certainly one of the reasons why he had a falling out with Elon Musk. Because Elon Musk, obviously, and it was always weird to me how the whole MAGA crowd were generally people who questioned net zero, questioned electric vehicles. And yet one of the leading lights of Donald Trump's campaign was a man who was subsidized by the US administration for his electric vehicles. It's all about control, says Stephen Watson. Anyway, thank you. Thank you for, I've received a number of videos, and I sincerely hope that we can get Professor Paul Christensen on to talk about it. He is the prof of pure and applied electrochem at the Newcastle University. Very interesting man indeed. Very interesting. How many, see, this is where I think we follow the money, never goes out of style. So Jackie says, how many have shares in these EV companies? And that is the reality, is that oftentimes, whatever it is you're dealing with, whether you're dealing with new laws off the back of Zionist demands, it is follow the money, or electric vehicles. Stay at home is the message, says Maria, and don't charge your electric vehicle near your home or connected to your home if you can help it. And I want to ask you people out there for some ideas. And here's the idea, right, is that my inbox, my email inbox is absolutely full of injustices, as you can imagine. It is hard sometimes not to feel overwhelmed. People write to me some of the most painful experiences that they have endured during their lives, and so much of the time I can do little about it, and it is crushing. And I want to find a way to channel that into a regular segment so that I can give people a platform without having to spend days and even weeks going through their whole life, and because I don't have the time to do that. And it unfortunately, sometimes it can dissuade me from covering the whole story if I don't have time to go through the entire thing. So I'm thinking of some kind of, I don't know, community segment. I'm just brainstorming ideas. Please feel free. Just something where people, it is a recognized segment that we have on Wake Up, where people can come along and they can talk for, say, 15 minutes about what it is very specifically that is specific to them. That isn't, because a lot of the time I have to cover stories that resonate with other people. But what about stories that where people feel completely isolated, that they think they're the only one experiencing it? I need to find a way to be able to take care of them as well on Wake Up. And oftentimes you have to be careful, because I'll give you one example of one kind of story which is incredibly difficult to cover, and that is the story of forced adoptions. And the reason that forced adoptions is when children are taken away from the parents against the parents' will, obviously against the children's will. My thing has always been that we should be investing in keeping families together, but that is not what the state has done, and for the longest period of time. And we've seen that children who have been put into foster care have frequently been abused. We've seen that children who have been put into care have frequently been abused. It's been some sort of pipeline for predators, horrendous stuff. But there is a great difficulty in me in covering that. And one is to do with the family court system. And I get a lot of emails from people who are either having their children taken from them, or their loved ones having children taken away from them. And for about 10, 12 years, I covered that as much as I humanly could. But it is almost impossible, because the family court system still makes it near impossible to cover any of these things. There is the issue of anonymity, because you cannot identify the children, and if you identify the families, you end up identifying the children. So when people contact me and say, I've had my child taken off me, can I come and talk? Well, the problem is I can't, because they can be identified and then the child can be identified. And even if we did, a blank screen where you couldn't see them, if it was found that they were speaking out, a lot of them are subject to gagging orders as well. There are so many problems attached to this. And some people's stories don't fit into the time limits. Where am I? That's absolutely the case. That is the reality. And in order for me to be able to summarize some of the stories to 15-20 minutes, I have to go into them in great detail myself before I'm able to then distill them down. And it's also bearing in mind that this is a breakfast show and people do not want long segments. I've learned that after a very long period of time, that people want to be able to have really punchy stories, in, out. And at this moment in time, I have no other way to be able to do very, very lengthy videos with people, because I simply don't have the time. Now, Rachel, this is a potential. Can you have an expert who works in certain areas and do a Q&A? That is a potential, right? Debbie, absolutely. Free expert advocacy is what we need. Lovely Debbie Evans. Yes. Ray, you are a huge amount of knowledge in you. What is this? For your information, did you know foster homes are named after the family that owned the Roswell Ranch that had the notorious UFO crash? Shut the front door. Is that right, Ray? You're not pulling my chain, as the Americans would say, right? Right? Tell me, get them to send in a video, Son, and you can upload and not on a live show. No, see, that probably not even going to work either, because the problem about that, and I take your point, really I do, because remember we did that. You can send in a video like of your 1 minute rant or 1 minute appreciation or whatever. But it can actually be longer. But also that in itself can be problematic as well, because I'd have to be checking that. I'd have to be getting it legaled. It can be very, very costly to get a video legaled. And I'm going to tell you shortly about something to do with that. And so there are all manner of attendant problems, but I need to find a way around helping people on an individual level to be able to continue to give them a platform. So if I miss it in the comments, please feel free to contact me at soniapoulton@sky.com and let me know your suggestion. I need to find a way around it. I need to find a way around it, because it doesn't sit well with me to receive so many emails from people who are going through horrendous situations and I'm not necessarily individually able to help them. The other thing that I almost certainly can never cover, which is a pain in the butt, is people who say that they are being targeted. You might not be actually, but I receive a significant volume of correspondence from people who believe that they are being targeted either by local authorities or by the state. Proving that is almost near impossible. And the amount of time that it would take me to be able to do that, to just tackle one, would mean that I'd have to ignore everybody else's that have come through. So you can see the problem that I'm dealing with there as well. And sometimes people aren't being targeted. It feels like it. And I'm not necessarily suggesting that they're paranoid either, but sometimes things can have happened to them in the local community and they can feel that they're being highlighted in some way and being set apart. And that does happen. We know it happens, definitely, but it's very difficult for me to prove it. It's difficult for them to prove it, much less me proving it. So any suggestions would be appreciated. Could you do it all? Says Darren. Yes, I could. And Shug, you're right. I am a lone wolfer because I've learnt, right? I've learned through experience that this is what works best for me. And that doesn't mean that I can't be a team player. I am perfectly capable of being a team player. But we have to all be on the same page. That's interesting, B, is that there's a yearly targeted individual conference held in a different country each year. What's that? Have a 1 all-day program once a week, jam all the guests in. Baz, have you any idea how much time it already takes for me on my own to compile 2 shows? There's no way that I would have time to do that. The type of show that we're doing, a 2-hour show, right, would generally can take anything from 10 to 15, even 20 people to compile it. I compile it all on my own, including my research. So I'm afraid I'm not going to be able to find, although I take your point, it's definitely a solution, but it's not a solution that I can do right now just because I don't have the time. And then the thing is, Ven says that I admire your independence. It feels more authentic because I'm so sick and tired of other people trying to influence me. And I've had it. As soon as people hire you in some way, they feel that they have some sort of say in your output. And I've seen that. I've had that over and over again. I've had people who tried to influence my output to do with grooming gangs. I've had people who've tried to influence my output to do with Madeleine McCann, people who tried to influence my output to do with geoengineering. I've had it all. And that's why I eventually thought, I sod that. I can't do this. I have to do it on my own. Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. Do you use MSM as your source, says Astor? I read everything as much as I humanly can. So if I see a story that has been flagged up hugely in MSM, and actually I'm going to give you an example of one, then I will fact check it against other sources. Now, thank you for that, Asta, because you've just brought me to the next thing. So anyway, community segment, some kind of injustice segment, you know, the type of thing I'm thinking of, people. And maybe what we could do is, if we're not able to do it once a week, we could at least do once every couple of weeks, but some kind of injustice corner. I think you know the kind of thing I'm talking about. But thank you, Astor. You just prompted me. No, that's not the one. It's this one, right? GB News, what a farce that turned out to be. About a year ago, I showed why GB News is controlled opposition. And this is their latest thing, that obviously A lot of hyperbole to do with measles. Child dies of measles amid fears highly contagious illness could spread like wildfire. Now, I don't know if any of you recognize first of all, Eamon Holmes has long given up any pretense of being a journalist. And I worked with Eamon for years on This Morning I was a debater and actually a regular debater, and I regularly was on with Eamon, and we always got on fairly okay. I definitely preferred Eamon to Philip Schofield, put it that way, and I definitely preferred Ruth to Holly Willoughby. So I was always much happier to be on with Eamon and Ruth than with Holly and Phil, because actually, oddly enough, both Holly and Phil gave me kind of the creeps. They kind of weirded me out, and I couldn't really put my finger on it. I think I can now. But anyway, going back to Eamon, he's, as I say, he's given up any pretense of being a journalist, and these days he just goes along with official narratives. And their latest official narrative is pushing the whole measles thing. Now, do any of you recognize this woman? Because this woman, I think, should be held to account. Her name is Dr. Sarah Kayat. I think that's how you pronounce her name, Kayat. She is the piece of work who appeared on This Morning on January the 4th, 2021. And she said, and I'm quoting her, after 12 days from the first vaccination of the AstraZeneca vaccine, you are 100% effective against hospitalization and death. She said that. And This Morning said Sarah Kayat on their social media shares this amazing statistic with us, which you may not have heard yet. And I remember at the time replying, we haven't heard it because she's just pulled it out of her anus. It was an absolute lie then. It's a lie now. Doctors like this, it should be doctors like this who are facing disciplinary, not doctors like Dr. David Cartland, who has now been struck off. Dr. David Cartland is an example of a doctor who spoke up from the very beginning. There's a lot of mealy-mouthed doctors around who are like, you know, now they're banging on the drum for freedom, but they didn't speak out. Dr. David Cartland, for all of his problems, and I've often said to him, get offline, because you get too wound up in the game of online and backs and forwards with the trolls and everything. But they came after him. Now, that is a targeted individual, Dr. David Cartland. But he spoke out right from the beginning, 2020. And I always admired him for that. But doctors like Dr. Sarah Kayat, they are, there's no other way to look at it other than prostitutes. They are prostitutes for the big pharmaceutical companies. So she's now scaring the pants off everybody. Get your MMR jabs. They probably got a huge batch that they need to get rid of because parents are waking up to this. What's this? What's the name of the CBB's media doctor? Wasn't that Sarah? Wasn't that also Sarah? Because she was on Redhead. She was on a lot with Jeremy Vine as well. I mean, there's horrible ones. Dr. Hilary Jones. And this Sarah Kayat, more recently, she's also been pushing the slimming jabs. What kind of doctor pushes this stuff? What kind of doctor is it? Correction, Dr. Vernon Coleman. Yes, he spoke out from the beginning as well. He did. What? Tell it to my... Oh, Maria, that's painful. Tell it to my dead 21-year-old nephew. I'm very sorry to read that. Very sorry to read that at all. Dr. Raj, another one. These people are dodgy and iffy, and they give me the creeps. They give me the creeps. And but I think that's fairly egregious. I just honestly, why does anybody watch GB News now and pretend that it has any semblance of independence? It doesn't. It's a lie. It's a lie. What P? We couldn't get David Miller in, but we'll sort that out for another time because he's a good guy. He's a good guy. Also, let me show you. Oh, yes, I think it's summer holidays now. If your children do go to school, it is, of course, the summer holidays. This is where lovely Rachel watches Wake Up. Rachel, let me find it. Let me find it. Let me find it. Whoa. Oops. Let me find it. And actually, I'm a little bit jealous of where Rachel is watching Wake Up because it looks so super cool. There it is. Here we go. And school holidays and all that, yo. And I saw somebody mention butterflies in the comments earlier. There was some lovely butterflies in our garden yesterday. It makes me so happy to see it. And Rachel said, I tried to capture my kitty in it, but she walked off mid-shoot. I'm so pleased that this year my patio is buzzing with bugs, bees and butterflies. Rachel, where you live, you're overlooking a huge field. That looks so wonderful and secluded and so beautiful. I love it. And it's lovely. No Severn Trent, no fluoride in our water either. Rach, jealous. That looks so beautiful. Paul has dragonflies where he lives. It's just, we love seeing a bit of nature, don't we? Talking about which, you want to see my doggo? I captured my doggo last night because obviously it is horrendously hot for animals. But what happens with my dog? So she has like a cooling vest, obviously a wet cooling vest that she puts on. I'm going to show you a video of her. And I want to point out to you that when I talk to her and ask her or make a comment, she nods her head yes. And I want to know if you can see it. So she's lying down in front of the fan. And I will say, first of all, my dog does not look like any other dog on earth. Literally, my dog does not look like any other dog that I've ever seen. My dog is part Romanian Shepherd. She was found on the streets in Romania. She is considered to be a large dog and she has super short legs, as you will see from this image. And she's fabulous. She can jump really high and she can run like the clappers. So this is my doggo. Look at her. Check her out. This is my doggo. This is her in front of a fan. You're loving it, aren't you? I love it. Look at that. When I say you're loving it, aren't you? She nods her head. Did you see that, guys? Did you see that? A fan. You're loving it, aren't you? I love it. Okay. I love this dog so much. I absolutely do. She is such a sweetie. Honestly, Peter, she's the loveliest sweetest heart. Squidgy, here's the thing. My daughter is absolutely convinced that she's not entirely dog. And in all fairness, she looks a bit like an otter. She kind of looks like a cross between a dog and an otter. I've never seen a dog that looks like my lovely. And you did see it, Jacqueline. You saw it. She knows. She knows. Yes, she does. She's so super cute. She really is. And I hate seeing dogs get so hot in this weather. I really do. And but she's handling it like a champ. And I'm very, very proud of her. Okay, where are we? 10:51. Just a reminder, of course, our merch store is up and running. And if you have any merchandise ideas that you would like me to consider, please let me know. I am willing to upload all manner of designs. I heard somebody say that they wanted good day grand rising as opposed to good morning. So that is being done. And it's at Dashery merch. You can get tote bags. Let me just, let's just bring in some images as you do. You can get tote bags, you can get mugs. Oh, there it is. There it is. The tote bag says, "We do news different." Someone had to, with "Wake Up with Sonia Poulton" on it. How about branded packets of seeds? I like that idea. That's a fantastic idea. Any man bags? What would constitute a man bag? I don't know. What would constitute a man bag? Tell me. Bye, Chris. Take good care of yourself. You're right. Very different than most other dogs. Matters. So different. So different. Great idea. The shipping fees are steep. Are they? Talk to me, because I was assured that it was cheaper than the other places. I need to know that. This is the kind of feedback I need. Please feel free to send me an email and let me know, because we can change at any moment. Any moment. Is there a meat raffle today? What now? Faraday pouches. That's a good idea, Derek. That's an excellent idea. Thank you, Jimmy. She's a lovely dog. A fanny pack. Yeah, let me know. Let me know. And let me have that sort of feedback. I want feedback. Please let me know anything that I need to know. Right. Okay. First of all, donators as ever. Thank you. You're absolute stars. Where would we be without you? We wouldn't. That's the reality. The fact that you donate here, whether via Patreon, whether buying me a coffee or on the super chat, every last penny goes into Wake Up and making Wake Up and ensuring that I am here twice a week. And I don't work anywhere else. I focus only on here. And that's what I do. I see. I am gay, but drive a motorbike, need a man bag. I see. Okay, I got you. I mean, have I got you? Does it matter? Does it matter whether you're gay or straight? I don't know. But either way, you're all welcome around here. I even like straight people. Joke, obviously, joke. Right. I want to talk about silence. Linda, that's a great slogan. Raise your standards, not your tolerance. That's a great slogan. I want to talk about silence. I've been thinking a lot about silence recently, and I've been more silent recently because I've gone inwards as I'm sort of preparing for the next stage, what I want to do next, the ideas that I'm coming up with, what I want to cover, those sort of things. And a lot of the time when I'm silent, it's because I'm plotting and I'm building. That is why. But in my silence, there's so much else that I also get from it. And I just wanted to share that with you. And one of those things is I get an enhanced self-awareness of who I am, my role in this world. Anybody who knows me knows that I believe that we are here for a reason, for a purpose. And it's become increasingly evident to me, more so. Sometimes it's like, you know, that fleeting glimpse that you get, you're like peeping behind a curtain and you're trying to find out, like, why am I here? What is the purpose of my life? All that sort of stuff. And I get this kind of, but I only get it in silence. I don't get it when I'm outward facing. It's always when I'm inward facing. And that has been coming to me more and more. And my role has become more defined. And I think one of my strengths is how, when I realize that something is wrong, I become completely uncompromising. There's no incentive that I have ever been offered, right, that can make, once I realize something is absolutely wrong, that an injustice is taking place, and they've tried it all. I've been incentivized, I've been offered money, I've been offered my own show. They've tried it all, anything to take me away from that. But once I know, I plant my feet, and it's going to take heaven and earth to move me. And that doesn't mean that I'm stubborn, because anybody around here knows that. Even the fact that I'm prepared to bring on somebody to talk about chemtrails, right, that already tells you that I've got an open mind. And I do believe that lots of different people need to be heard, as one example. But once I know something is the way it is, you can't move me. And I think that is one of my strengths. And that's one of the things that I've learned from silence. The other thing that I get from silence is I've got an increased focus and concentration on the things that really do matter. So I'm contemplating this week's investigation as one example. And one of the things that I feel I have never fully drilled down on, even though I've talked about in isolation, but it's like, it's to do with all the king's men. In other words, our king, quote unquote, not mine, but you know who I'm talking about, Charles, has always had an inordinate amount of predators around him, including his uncle. And so I've started researching that more fully. It's a subject I've talked about for a long period of time. But when you start to really drill down on these things, then you start to see how everything links up. And I've talked to lots of people around this issue, including Richard Coase in a new book, as one example. Not my king either, Maria, not my king. But that's one example. And actually, the silence that I've been subjecting myself to has really given me that sort of increased focus of what is and isn't important. And to me, corruption is one of the most important things to highlight. Corruption, child abuse, injustices, those are important things. I don't do a lot of stuff like celebrity gossip, as one example, even though when you talk about famous people, you will automatically increase your viewership. Candace Owens worked that out, and she does it very well. And that's why she covers a lot of celebrity, because she realized that's where you get a lot of viewers. But I've never been into clickbait, and I've always been about highlighting topics that don't always get aired. But it's to find a way that can also reach a wider audience. And just briefly talking about Candace Owens, by the way, I'm absolutely aware of that lawsuit that happened to do with Brigitte Macron. I'm aware of it. I don't want to go into it right now because I'm in the middle of talking about staying silent, but I am aware of it. And I don't think it's quite as straightforward as it's been portrayed, but I am aware of it. The other thing that comes from silence is you will reduce your stress and anxiety, because what you do is you center yourself. And another really good way of centering and grounding yourself is just take off your shoes and go stand on some earth, even mud, whatever it takes. Ground yourself in the earth. Silence will also give you the ability to make better decisions. Will also increase your creativity. In my silence recently, I have jotted down about 10 new ideas that I want to work on moving forward for our investigations. And always feel free to suggest investigations to me as well. Either probably not on the live chat, it goes too fast, and I don't have enough time to go through all comments again after the show's finished. Unfortunately, it's just impossible, because if you see all across my all social media platforms, there are messages across all of them: Instagram, X, Blue Sky, in the live chat, and it's just impossible. So if there's something that you ever really want to say to me, and you've tried to say it in the live chat and I haven't picked it up, because I do a cursory look at the live chat, I just can't go into it in detail, because if to look at the live chat in detail, it's going to take me another 2 hours, because the live chat is as long as the show. So that's not possible. But if there's something that you want to convey to me and you've tried the live chat and I haven't picked it up, please email me. Please email me. And that includes suggestions of what you'd like me to cover. And the other great thing that I found from silence is mindfulness. I think one of the issues that we have in our world is distraction. They've got us distracted about all manner of things, haven't they? And even some may say that the Epstein list in its own right is a distraction. And I wouldn't necessarily disagree with that, but it's still something that needs to be tackled. And I believe that the Epstein list is a perfect example of what they want to term as historic abuse, but it's not historic abuse to the people who were abused. That is probably ever present. But also in terms of the Epstein case, those people are still walking around. A lot of those people are still walking around, and a lot of those people are still in charge. So obviously that is far from old. But silence has given me that mindfulness where I know what is right, and I can be present in the moment to appreciate the smallest things. The smallest things, whether that is learning something new as a consequence of something I've covered, and people come to me with a new piece of information. And I really value that as well. When I've covered a subject, and I don't claim to know everything about everything, absolutely not. I research and I research and I research until I fall over, but that still means I can miss things. And so when somebody comes to me and they say, oh, did you know blah? I find that exciting, new piece of information. But that silence brings me that mindfulness in order to be able to understand what is important, to appreciate my surroundings, and to just like cultivate my surroundings more and to be more present. So I think all those things are really important, because we hear a lot of bad stuff. You know, we've been taught that things like silence and solitude are bad things. It suggests that you're kind of like antisocial, you're unloved. None of that is true. Silence is really powerful if used appropriately. Obviously, it can be negative. If you spend your entire life in silence because you don't feel you can just trust anybody, then that can mess up with your relationships, your communication. So silence is not always great, okay? But silence applied in a very thoughtful manner can be one of your greatest weapons against a world of disinformation and attack. And I think in some respects that the power of silence in the face of anything, so even when people are attacking you, power of silence is phenomenal, because you immediately are telling people you're not worthy of a response and you retain your power. I learned this a long time ago to do with like trolls as one example. I used to argue back with them. And why drag myself down to their level? No, that's ridiculous. And being silent with such people, because these are people who come at you with bad faith anyway. So being silent with such people, I think, is the ultimate power against them. And I want to end on a quote. Thank you very much all for being here. That's not the quote. But thank you all for being here. You're all stars, lovely people. Sorry with all the tech issues we've had today. What a day, eh? I wonder what is impacting us today. And Lyra, this is a really fair comment. And I think I have to comment that as well. Listen, Lyra said, I think silence has allowed a lot of atrocities to go unlooked at. You're absolutely right. And that's why I mean, silence has to be very judiciously applied to oneself in terms of knowing thyself better. But silence in the face of an injustice, I would never support. That's what you're talking about. Oh, Marcuson, not doing Trump shooting. Right. Do you know what? Let's do it. I forgot about that. Fair enough. Fair enough. I will come back to, I'm having, what a day. Marcuson, thank you for reminding me that. I did. It's a year ago. Let me come back to that. I'm a bit all over the place today. I think the heat and the tech issues are getting to me. But just say, I think silence is a wonderful thing. It's not wonderful in the face of injustice. Lyra, you're absolutely right. I'm talking about silence purely for oneself. And I will finish on a silence quote. But I do want to cover the Trump thing. Thank you, Marcuson, for pointing that out to me. And things, when you have tech issues, it can really throw you. But we are not thrown, because I have a fantastic audience who remind me of things that I need to be doing. So let us just briefly look at this Trump thing, right? Get some feedback on that. And that is, it is a year ago now since the Trump assassination attempt. And also, we are told, in Butler. And the first Trump assassination attempt, because remember, there were several, allegedly. And here it is. And I asked people on social media what they thought about it, and I didn't make it leading. I just wanted people to tell me what happened, and here are some of the responses. One of them is from Gaslighting Gilligan, who said, "Weapons trained ex-sergeant major here. He wasn't hit by a high velocity round. He didn't spin, and his ear would have been hanging off, but is unmarked. It was a victimhood psyop to hijack the moral authority, galvanize his base, and shape mass perception." And Gaslighting Gilligan has been on with us before. That's Johnny. And he's brilliant at analyzing situations like this. But do you agree with him? And I went through those comments, and really, most people think this is a fake. Most people think this is a fake assassination. John Mack said, did he prepare for this moment by watching The Matrix? TJ said Masonic theater. Jules said, if they, in quotes, wanted Trump dead, he'd be dead. And not long after, we had that man hiding in bushes as Trump played golf. You don't miss twice. And We the Many said, where's my shoe? That's what it did for me. Humiliation ritual. Bohemian Atmosphere said, as fake as Bill's meat. And other people have referred me to Revelations and the Bible. Sam says, ear cartilage does not grow back. Once you kiss that wall, we know where allegiance lies. And Yura says, this whole episode was as fake as Trump's tan, a publicity stunt, propaganda exercise. Unbelievably enough, we're gullible to lap it up and propagate the fantasy. God saved him so he can save America, you know. Stevie said it was pure theater. And Alan says it stinks of a staged event. One thing for sure is this: Donald Trump isn't the same Donald Trump that won in 2016. I'm wondering if his family has been threatened, because he is a Democrat masquerading as a Republican now. And I'm going to end with Andrew. I couldn't find one comment that said this was real. Now, it could be that this is from somebody that I've previously muted and I'm not seeing their comments, but I couldn't find one comment that was in support of this. Or stage, said where I am. So I'm going to end with Andrew Pearson, who said, the more I see, the more that I firmly believe that he is captured by the Blue Star Brigade, and a large chunk of the American public thinks that they had a win, but they just changed the flavor of the same. I hear you. And Lynn said it was fake. The Simpsons has done a video that he does on August the 12th. Thank you for reminding me that of Marcuson. And I remember your comment. Your comment was basically, you don't care. You're too busy making sure that your life and the life of your loved ones and others is good. If I paraphrase you correctly, Marcuson. But well done, Marcuson, for reminding me, because clearly I'm all over the place this morning. So forgive me for that, people. Now, Alina, yes, other people died. That's right. That is what that is exactly it. So what is the deal there? What is the deal there? My question, wasn't there a dead person in the crowd? Yes, there was. Wasn't there a firefighter who died, we were told? But most people think, according to this, think it was staged. So, and the problem is, I think I just want to comment on this is, I don't know about you, but I would get rid of a lot of the AI generated videos online that feature real people, because I think this is all deliberately designed to create a situation that's where we don't know what is true and what is fake. And I think at least there should be some kind of warning on them that this is AI generated content. But there is stuff all over social media where you have different things, whatever it is, you know, very public people who are doing outrageous things, and it's all generated. And I think those things are a problem. And I do think that all of this was in part introduced to make us doubt what our eyes are telling us. That whole thing of, you know, pictures don't lie. Well, we all know now. remember that we used to say photographs don't lie. Feels like forever ago, doesn't it? Because they lie all the time now. Anyway, learn to discern. Yes, they are trying to move us into an artificial world. I agree, Catherine. Neil said, where did that blood come from? Not the ear. It looked like fake blood as well. I don't believe it. I have to say, my position is I don't believe that this was real. That's my position, and I'm entitled to it. But it could well be, yes, that people did die in the crowd. But since when have any of these people ever had a problem about using humans as some form of collateral damage in order to push agendas? Never. They don't. Tech and humans aren't friends. Right, I'm going. Want to end on a quote. Thank you all for being here. Sorry, I've been all over the place. Hope it's all made sense, as these things do. I will organise David Miller coming back on and work out what on earth happened there, because I saw him briefly and then he was gone. And I want to end on a quote, and that is about silence. And that is, silence isn't empty. It's full of answers. There you go. Have a beautiful week. I will see you Friday, if not before. Take good care of yourself, you wonderful, wonderful people. Thank you for being here with me this morning. I need to go. I need to have some water. I need to lie down. I need to make sense of my life. Thank you all. You're wonderful people. Love you all. Love you too, Synchronized Soul. Enjoy the silence, says Leon Michael. Take good care of yourself, people. See you Friday.